It's a blessing to be able to talk to the small group leaders and assistants. This is a vital ministry, and I'm really blessed to be able to talk to you today about this. My name is Mike Berry. For those of you I don't know, I'm one of the pastors at New Life Midway, and among a few different things, my main passion is really small groups. I love this ministry because it does a couple of things that really need to be done in the church that often are neglected. Two of the biggest problems we have in the church are, number one, there's a big open back door. You know, in the summertime when you're trying to keep your home cool and the air conditioning is on, if someone leaves the door open, there goes the cold air, right? Or in the winter when you're trying to heat up the place and someone opens the back door, all the hot air goes out and you want to close that door and make it comfortable again. Well, in church, what happens, even in a healthy church like New Life, is we put a lot of energy into opening the front door, getting people to come in and experience the worship and hear the preaching and see the building and get to know people. But just as fast as people are coming in, they're often leaving. And there's no better way to close the back door, to help people to stick around and take the next steps in their spiritual growth than small groups. Study after study shows that when people make friends, they stick around in a church. Pretty simple, right? It's not brain surgery. If you make friends, you want to be there. And so you'll tend to come back and be involved and bring people. If you don't make friends, no matter how good the preaching and the worship is, you're going to tend to feel a little isolated, like you're on the outside, a little lonely, and you probably won't stick around. So small groups help close the back door. Another thing that small groups do is they help get Christians active. It's a shame how many people in America call themselves Christians but rarely do much for the Lord. 95% of believers, according to a lot of surveys, have never led anyone to Christ. A lot of believers never make much of a difference in someone else's life for good, even though they attend church week after week, and they wind up ending their lives hearing hundreds or thousands of messages, singing tons of worship songs, and yet they've never seemed to make a difference in bringing other people around or helping other people to grow. Small groups give an opportunity for people to minister to one another. So that's why I'm excited to talk to you about small groups. I think that the future of New Life hinges partially, to a good extent, on our small group ministry. If we have a lot of leaders and we're growing strong, we're going to reach the people and keep the people growing that we should. Without enough small groups, without a healthy small group ministry, we're going to be overwhelmed. We're not going to be able to keep up with people, and we won't be the church that we're supposed to be. Let's talk about the 5 things that have to happen in a small group. We've talked about this some before. If you remember the 5 ingredients, they all begin with W to try and make it easier to remember. I don't know why we want to alliterate things all the time in the church, but 5 W's helps you to remember that. Welcome, worship, works, word, weekly contact. Okay, the 5 W's, the 5 ingredients of a successful group. So let's just review that for a little bit. Welcome is hospitality. When people come in, they know where to go. They have a welcoming environment. Worship, of course, enabling people to connect with God using Scripture, using music, whether there's a musician there leading it, or it's a recording, a CD, or YouTube videos we've talked about. It's something like that that can really be quality music that's easy to sing along to with the words on the computer or on a screen. Some way that you use something. Somebody has to be in charge of helping people to worship. Get them to connect with God. Remember, don't just start a small group by taking prayer requests and just talking about our problems. Let's go to God. Let's bring our problems to God. So a worship time is a key part of a group, getting people to connect with God. Then works. What do we actually want to do as a group? And that's the time where we take time out to talk about mentoring. Who's mentoring who? Who's working with who? What involvement do you have? Maybe people need to sign up for an encounter retreat, or it's a youth group. They need to go to Acquire the Fire and make sure they're registering. Maybe there's some people that need to take steps toward baptism. But the works time, every week in a group, they should take 5 to 10 minutes and talk about what we're doing. What's the next step for us, for each of us in our groups, and what are we doing to grow? Then there's the Word, the teaching time. And typically 30 or 40 minutes, getting into the Bible, helping people to discover. Remember, it's a Bible discussion, not a lecture, not a preaching time. We want people to discuss. You know, people remember more of what they say. Not just of what they hear and see, but what they say. So if you can get people to talk about the Bible, even just read some scripture. Ask them, what do you think this means? How can it affect your life? That'll help it to stick in their mind. That's something they can't do on Sunday, so small groups are a great opportunity for that. So the Word, and then finally, outside of the group time, is the weekly contact. So important for people to have contact. We all get discouraged fast, especially if someone isn't in the habit of coming out to fellowship week after week. It's easy to fall away. So as a leader, your responsibility is to make sure people are being contacted. I've found that nowadays is not just phone and email, but I think two things have actually passed up those ways of contacting people. The top two, in my experience at least right now, the top two along with phone and email are actually text messages and Facebook. I mean, there's people that I'll call them, can't get a hold of them. Email them, they never respond. Send them a Facebook message, boy, they're right back at me. And I'm like, don't you have work to do at your job? How come you're on Facebook? But I'll tell you, some people respond to that fast. Text messaging, people usually have their cell phone with them. And boy, you text message people, a lot of people get back to you right away. They might say, who is this? They don't know who you are, but they'll get back to you anyway. People are interested when they get a text message. So I want to encourage you, have people contacted weekly and figure out what works for your group. It might be a few of them on Facebook, a lot of them by text message, maybe there's some by email, whatever it takes. All three of those are very quick, of course. Phone calls take longer, but there's no excuse for not sending out one group text message per week. I mean, how long does that take? And yet it can make a difference in the group. In the men's group I lead, every week I send out a text message to all the guys. A little verse from the Bible. I say, hey, we're getting together tomorrow night. See you there, 7 p.m. Just a little reminder. Some of the guys probably get sick of it, but at least it's a little reminder every week on Sunday or Monday night, right before our Tuesday night group. Hey, we're meeting, guys. Come on out. I'll see you there. It just lets them know I'm remembering you. I'm expecting you there. We'll see you there. Okay? So those are the 5 W's, the 5 things that have to happen in a group to make it successful. So be working on those 5. And I want to talk to you today really about the 3 people that do those 5 things. Okay, there's 3 roles in the group. Now you could get away with just having 1 or 2 of these people, but your group won't be as strong as it should be. Really, you should have all 3 of these, and they're going to do these 5 things. The first person is the leader. Think about a church. Say there's a church of 100 people, and someone says, well, how many small groups should we have? Some people would say, well, we should have a group for every 10 people. Maybe we should have 10 groups. Other people would say, well, let's break it up by men's, women's, couples, celebrate recovery, youth, 1 for each category. Really, you can say whatever you want, but the bottom line is you'll have as many groups as you have leaders. It doesn't matter whether you have 100 people, 500, 1,000. If you have 5 people that are willing and able to lead a group, you got 5 groups. All the time people come to me with, hey, why don't we do a group for this type of people? Or, hey, how about over here? Can we get in this neighborhood? And my answer is always, great idea. Who could lead that? Without a leader, forget it. You're not going to have a group. So a leader is essential. Let's talk about what a leader does. The heart of a leader, if you're leading a group. In the Bible, the main picture that's given of a leader is a shepherd. A shepherd. Now you think about that, and we don't know a lot of shepherds here in Chicago, right? It's more of a rural picture. But we know a shepherd gathered sheep, kept them together, protected them, guided them, watched out for them. There's a lot of shepherds in the Bible. Isn't it interesting? Moses was a shepherd for 40 years. 40 years after he left Egypt. 40 years of training. At age 80, they didn't have Social Security, so he couldn't retire. And the Lord called him to bring the people of Israel out of Egypt. And he had 40 years training working with sheep, so he was ready. Remember, David was trained working with his father's sheep, so he was ready to defeat Goliath and then to lead men as a great warrior and as a great king. So there's something about being a shepherd that's a picture of a leader. I want you to look with me at 2 passages in the Bible about being a shepherd, and I think these give insight into what we can do as a leader of a small group. Okay, 2 passages, and we're going to pull 6 words out of there. So if you're taking notes, write down these 6 words. First passage we'll look at is Psalm 23. You're familiar with it. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not be in want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He restores my soul. He guides me in paths of righteousness for His name's sake. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. Now look at what the shepherd does there. It's the Lord that's the shepherd, but we need to emulate the Lord and be like Him in these ways. First of all, it says that He makes the sheep lie down in green pastures, leads them beside the quiet waters, guides them in the righteous paths. What's He doing? He's bringing them where they need to go. We've all heard it said, sheep are dumb. They're stupid. No offense to sheep, but hey, that's what everybody that works with sheep says. They don't know what they're doing. They'll keep eating the same patch of grass until it's all worn out, there's nothing there, and they'll literally starve to death if you don't push them to go to some new grass. You know, some people will keep thinking the same thoughts, stuck in negativity, bitterness, stuck in addiction. If they don't have someone help them get out of that and get to a new place in their life, a new way of thinking, maybe some new people to spend time with, a new understanding of God, some new habits. So a shepherd helps take those sheep where they need to go. The first word I want you to write down is progress. Progress. A shepherd coaches the sheep to their next step. It's time to eat. Come on over here. Here's where you're going to eat. It's time to drink. Come on over here. Watch out for these wolves. Get away from there. Let's go on the right path. Come on over here. It's time to sleep. We go here. So, as a small group leader, you're helping people find progress in their life.